Hey, how's it going? My name's Chris,
And I'm Gloria.
and today we're going to be talking about fear and anxiety, but specifically, we're going to be answering 3 different questions. The first question is how to overcome fear of making big life decisions in your 20s. The second is strategies for managing anxiety during transition from college to the workforce. And if you're in high school, this also applies from high school to college. And then finally, how to find fulfillment in your calling without succumbing to pressure and comparison. And if those questions sound interesting to you, then we hope you stick around. All right, Glo. So let's jump into it. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back in the Carpio corner today.
I know, we're actually in a corner this time.
I know.
And it's pretty wild. We were like, if we're going to be called the Carpio corner, why are we not in a corner?
I know. It was kind of a lie that whole time.
It was like a lie. We were living a lie.
We were the Carpio.
Liars.
Oh no.
Yeah, you were going to say it, but didn't want to, so I just wanted to finish it out.
That,
Oh, you were going to say
I was going to say the Carpio rectangle or
Well,
something like that. But
Oh, I guess that makes
made
sense.
it dark. It's fine.
Yeah. But hey, thanks everybody for jumping in and joining us today. We're really excited about this episode just because fear and anxiety is something that literally everybody has.
Yeah.
Like nobody doesn't have some form of fear or anxiety. And I think it really fits in even what we've been talking about over the course of the last couple episodes, especially when it comes to purpose, comes to growing your relationship with God, all of those kinds of different things. And we're on episode 5 now.
Wow.
That's wild.
Should we do something special for episode 5?
No, I feel
Well,
like
it is
episode
episode 5 already.
10
Ooh.
should be special.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good marker.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like a lot, but this is a lot.
It is.
But it's good. So let's jump into it. Question number 1. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let me preface this by saying we're not giving you like the full-on best answers you've ever heard.
Yeah.
This is us talking about it.
Yeah.
And we're going to be verbally processing, and we hope that you are kind of coming along the journey with us for that.
And I hope it's clear. And like he said, we're not here to really give
This is not
an
financial
answer
advice.
for. Yeah.
That's what financial advice YouTubers say.
Oh, really?
They're like, this is not financial advice. It's like a disclaimer so that if someone goes and makes a decision based off something they said, they aren't held responsible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good disclaimer.
Yeah, but at the same time, like we hope that
We hope that we give you good advice.
Yeah, we want to give you good advice
Just
and
might
biblical
not-
advice. It's not just like
Yeah.
our advice
Yeah.
either. Yeah. So the first question is, Gloria, how do you overcome fear of making big decisions in your 20s? How have you experienced that? Or you can even just tell me like your experience in that. Like, what has it been like making big decisions in your 20s with like fear? And you're like kind of in the earlier side of your 20s.
Yeah, I've only been in my 20s for 3.5 years.
I'm like on the later side of my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that. I was like, is 27 really like late?
It is.
I
think early is before 25 and late is after 25.
Yeah. Okay. So we're like just literal like opposites right there.
Well, I wouldn't say opposites, but
Yeah. Well,
I'm early, you're late. Yeah.
okay.
Man, well, I have been through a lot in the first couple of years of my 20s.
Yeah.
Just this past year, I got married, I graduated college, started a job.
That's
moved
like a
out of my
lot. You had the
childhood home.
trifecta. Yeah. The quad.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Quadfecta.
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
That sounds right.
I don't know.
Man, I'm trying to think back to the fears that I had. I know that I had a lot of fears, I think, leading up to it. Just
Leading up to what?
to graduating, to marriage, to moving out.
So
to
like any of those
having a job.
decisions, like any of the decisions you were making, you had a lot of fear up to them.
Yeah, I think it was more a fear of failing at them or them not actually happening. And then there's the fears that are within themselves. Like once you become a wife, the fear of not being a good wife, that kind of comes before all of those things happen.
What about
anyways.
specifically
But
like college? What about
college?
like, I feel like one of the big decisions that you made in your 20s was even going, actually, specifically for you, it was like, do I transfer? Where do I go?
Yeah. I guess that can count kind of as 20s. That was when I was like 18 or 19, that I was at one college that eventually closed. Well, Nyack College closed one campus, the one I was on. That was very sad and heartbreaking at the time. And for me, felt like this big, huge. It felt just bigger to me than it did at the time than it does now. Like I was like, oh, people transfer colleges all the time.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I had this whole big plan already of I'm going to spend 4 years at this college. I'm going to find everything at this college that I will need for, once I graduate.
Yeah.
And then a couple months in, they were like, oh, well, we're actually closing this campus by the end of this year, which didn't happen. But at the time, we thought it was going to.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, all these plans are ruined. All of these dreams that I had at this specific campus with these specific people is just not going to happen anymore. And so there was a lot of fear of what was going to happen after that. Yeah. But then I transferred, went to Nashville, Tennessee, and, God had plans for me there that were different than what I thought.
But how did you maneuver through? I mean, you just so quickly you were like, yeah, but then I transferred and then everything turned out fine. And it's like, but you were afraid. What was that? Were you afraid? Why were you afraid? How did you make a decision to go to another school and not just succumb to what was your fear? Because this is, I think, specific when it comes to fear.
Yeah.
I feel like fear calls us to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so afraid I can't do that, so I'm going to do nothing. I'm so afraid I'm going to go choose this other thing instead of the thing that I feel maybe I'm supposed to do, but is too overwhelming. So,
I think that I just had to switch how I was thinking about it all. And at the time, I would say that I was leaning on myself, which is not what you should do. But I was leaning on myself to figure it all out and figure it out quickly and figure it out perfectly and have the next thing just set up right away.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. It took, I didn't make a decision for several months.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really bringing people into it yet, I would say, for the first couple months because I was just so down about it. And I was just in my head and I was overthinking everything that could possibly happen because of it. And then eventually I started talking to some friends. I went with my friend Kaylee and visited another college.
Yeah.
I started branching out more and kind of looking at it like, oh, wait, this could actually be a really cool thing.
Yeah.
That was kind of later in the year. This could actually be a really cool opportunity. God could be leading me somewhere I didn't even know, and let's have fun with it instead of let's be down about it.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to visit several other schools. I visited a school in California. I visited the one in Nashville. I visited one in Florida. I was like, let me just branch out and take this as a really cool opportunity instead of being so down because what I thought was going to happen for me wasn't anymore. So that's definitely a big thing that's helped with fear, not just in college, but in other ways, is just remembering that what I have for me might not be the best. And so when it fails, it's because there's something better that God has.
Were you fearing failure?
Yeah, definitely. I think that for a while, I didn't think I was fearing failure, but it's just failure looks different in different environments.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, I'm just afraid of, I don't know, not being able to transfer somewhere and then not graduating on time or something like that. And that is kind of a form. People might say it's a form of failure.
Yeah.
I think there's also just different ways to look at the word failure anyways.
Totally.
But yeah, definitely that was a fear.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. I feel that this is all kind of feeling, but I feel like when you're in your 20s, one of the things that you fear the most is failure. And you're like, how can I avoid failure at all costs?
Yeah.
Because even 1 ounce of it is like the end of the world.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild. Because when I feel like what you're talking about is that what you at first thought was going to be failure was actually an opportunity. And when you brought others into it, it became you became more aware of the fact that it is an opportunity and it's not just failure. And I think
Yeah.
that's like a really important point to kind of take away from what you've said, is that if you feel like you're in a place where you are so afraid, bring someone else into your fear, because your fear could be lying to you.
Definitely.
And it likely is lying to you.
I was going to say, it probably is.
Yeah. But it's really hard to do that, right? Because you're even feeling like bringing somebody into what you are so afraid of could then give some kind of like authority to that failure, and saying like, I have to tell someone else that I can't finish at this school and that I might graduate late. And if I say that out loud, it feels real.
Yeah. Which
is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's what you're afraid of maybe happening is not actually real. Okay, this is actually crazy. This is crazy, right? One of the things I learned from skateboarding with Joey and Rudy and Luis and everything, shout out to the boys, is learning to drop in, right? So like if you're on a skate ramp, you're like at the top, you have to like commit to leaning your weight in balance to the front of the board so that you roll all the way down. It makes absolutely no sense in your mind, because when you're looking over the edge of this new thing that you're doing, it feels like you should restrain yourself from it so that you don't just fall flat on your face. Because if you lean forward, in your mind, all you see is like, you're just like falling face plant. But like, if you succumb to your fear, what'll end up happening is the thing that you're trying to avoid the most. You're going to fall. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, isn't it? I just I'll never forget that, because I have so many injuries from allowing fear to overcome me instead of just committing to what new opportunity I had in front of me.
Yeah.
To learn.
Yeah.
It was really to learn, which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you grow through them all.
You do.
Too.
Yeah.
Through all the fears and experiences.
To me, I think one of the biggest things that I learned, especially starting in ministry, or starting my job back 5 years ago now, I was talking to middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I would get up in front of them, I would read God's word, I would preach, and then every time that I finished preaching, I would just beat myself down. I was just like, man, I didn't do good enough. I didn't say that the right way. I should have said it better. I'm such a failure. I can't believe this. I would be so anxious before going and talking to these students, not in a way where it's not like how I am now. I still am fearful and anxious, but it's a good fearful and anxious.
What do you mean by that? A humbling kind
Yeah,
of?
It's a humbling kind of, it reminds me, hey, no matter, I think it's different because I know what the end is going to be like. Okay. So let me try and describe this. Basically, then I would be so afraid of how badly I was going to beat myself up. Now, I still have fear of my adequacy or my equipping at times, but I know that regardless of how anxious or fearful I may be, that God is going to use me. I didn't always think that way. I didn't always think oh, God's still going to use me. I used to think if I'm not good enough here, someone is not going to get saved, or someone's not going to come to know more about God or something like that. Yeah. Now I know, regardless of how I feel about how well I communicate, God's Holy Spirit, through the reading of his word, still communicates to his children, know? So no matter how anxious I am, the number one thing that I have to do is in that moment, surrender my fear and anxiety to God.
Yeah. And
just realize that, hey, even if me doesn't do what I'm supposed to do to the best of my ability in my own mind, it's still an opportunity to learn how to do it better in the future, and God still worked through me.
Yeah.
So that was a really big thing to me, is just learning that I can learn from every perceived failure. Because every failure is actually just an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a hard thing to wrap your mind around, especially when I feel in your 20s you feel that every decision you're making is cementing the rest of your life.
It's so true.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Because you go from being like, so it's this progressive learning. Like you go from being in high school where everything's kind of set for you and you don't have to like really make these crazy decisions. And then all of a sudden your junior year comes around and everyone's like, what school are you going to go to? You better choose now because where are you going to go?
What are you going to study?
Yeah, because that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And then you go into college and then you're like doing school and everything. And like, what are you studying? Oh, what do you want to be? And now it's not like, I want to be a firefighter and an astronaut. You know, it's like, what are you going to be? Because that's what you're going to do. Oh, you want to be a social worker? Oh, you're going to be poor. You know, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you saying that to me? That's so mean, you know? But at the same time, it's like what it feels like what you're studying has to be what you are for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's like not true at all.
Yeah. And fear might hold you back from doing what you're actually called to do and supposed to do. But it might be fear because of what other people are saying. Just like you were saying, that was a big thing with social work. Just you're gonna be broke for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But the fear, like, I mean, I'm a social worker now, so the fear didn't stop me, and it was just pushing through and knowing, like, this is what I'm supposed to be studying right now, because this is just what I feel called to study at this moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it might look like in the future, what I might use from that studying. It might not even be what I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, just not letting other people even influence your fears.
Yeah. Let me see here. I think I have a passage pulled up. So Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." And that's like, I think just the last part of that verse. I will uphold you with my right hand, with my righteous right hand. That is one of the biggest things, I think, even in what we've both been talking about, is learning that like your fear will overcome you if you do not surrender that to the Lord. Mm-hmm. Like you need to surrender that to God in order to be able to overcome it, because your fear knows exactly what lie to give to you. You need to bring him into it. You brought your friends into it, and I think over time you brought like prayer and the Lord into it and everything like that through prayer. Yeah. But like I know for myself, if I am not inviting Jesus into my fear, then my fear is manipulating me in ways that I should not be allowing it to. Yeah. So hold fast to the Lord. Yeah. It's a simple truth, but it's really real. Mm-hmm. It's important to think about.
Yeah. I put the verse 1 Peter 5:7 down, which I think is a pretty popular verse when it comes to anxiety. And it's just like...
Ooh, it's a pen drop.
Pen drop. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. So it's super simple. It's just one phrase, but it's a good one to memorize and then hold on to, because I feel like that's pretty easy to like remember. Yeah. And I guess the question would be, how do you cast all your anxiety on the Lord?
Yeah, which
I
feel like
look like
goes into our second question.
Okay.
Question number 2. Strategies for managing anxiety during transition from college to workforce. Really, I feel like this question could be rephrased to be from one stage of life to another stage of life, because it's not just about college to workforce.
It's not.
Even though that is like a super daunting time, but really like what does that look like?
Becoming a spouse, becoming a parent.
Yeah.
Even when you're young, middle school to high school.
Totally.
Just everything.
Yeah.
You can answer that one. I know you wrote it, but you want to talk?
Sure. I mean, I have been talking. We're like taking turns.
True. I feel like we've both been talking.
Yeah.
I think that we mentioned prayer. I think that's just a huge way to cast your anxieties on the Lord, and surrendering. Yeah. Which is hard to do when you first start doing it, because
what's another way of like saying surrender?
Surrender. I guess let it go might be kind of.
Well, what do you have to have in order to like let something go? If you have a diamond, and you were to give it to me, you were to let it go, to know that I'm
trust. Lots of trust. Yeah. That's why it's hard maybe to first start letting go. Yeah. And but over time, when you do that and you see that God is faithful and you can trust him with those things and he's going to get you where he wants you to be, then you can start letting go of the fear moving forward. And you can look to your past and see what fears he has brought you through.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. It's just the testimony of God's faithfulness to yourself of like, I had all these fears in high school and all these fears in college, but look where God brought me now.
Yeah.
And it's better than I thought it was going to be.
Look at me now.
Mm.
That's a song, right?
Yes. I can't remember what song.
I don't know if it's a good song. It might not be a good song.
I know. It's called Look at Me Now.
Oh. Don't look it up.
Oh, don't look it up. I don't know what that's.
I don't think it's a good song. But yeah, no, what I was thinking about is thinking about the small things. Like whenever you start like a new friendship or something like that, you usually don't just trust them with like your deepest, darkest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that starting a relationship with the Lord, you have the opportunity to do that. And I would encourage you to do that. But if you're having like a really hard time like wrapping your mind around, well, how do I have trust with God? Like, how do I start to build up that, trust with him? Start trusting him with the small things.
Mm-hmm.
What's a small anxiety in your life? What's something that kind of gets you rattled up inside and, you're not really sure what to do with or who to talk to about it? It's like, bring that to the Lord.
Yeah.
Start there and then slowly like work your way up to trusting him with much bigger things, because the reality is that you will be able to trust him with anything, in your life. But yeah, it takes time to get to that place where you can have like radical trust for God, the same thing with anybody in our life, it takes time for us to build that trust with them. But unlike anybody in our life, he will never break your trust.
Yeah. It's true. And he knows everything. Yeah. He knows where we'll be in 20 years.
I know. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That really is like kind of talking about what we talked to the Stephen students about. Mm-hmm. The like embracing the new you and just committing to walking the path that Jesus has set before you. A lot of that has to do with trust.
Yeah.
Because it was like that thing where you can't see in front of you, because God is like a lamp unto your feet, light unto your path. But like what your perceived 5-year plan is not necessarily what God's might be for you. And you're trusting that every step you take is going to be the one that he has for you.
Yeah.
Which then steps into kind of like a difference between fear of worldly things versus the fear of the Lord. Where do you land in that? What do you think about that? How would you discern the difference between the fear of the Lord and the fear of like man or something like that?
I mean, I think the biggest difference is just that God is sovereign. And you can't even wrap your mind around him. Yeah. Because he's so big and mighty, and he knows everything about everyone. Yeah. And that's kind of like, if you really try to wrap your mind around it, it's scary. Yeah. And to me, the fear of the Lord is just knowing that, and knowing that he just has the ability to do anything. Yeah. And man doesn't. Yeah. And the fears that we have on this world are so small and temporary compared to like God and eternity. And that's just kind of how I discern them. What were you kind of thinking of?
I was thinking about the devotional that I did like last week or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was in Hebrews 11:7, and it was talking about Noah. So it's like going through the hall of faith. Mm-hmm. And it says, by faith, Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear constructed an ark for the saving of his household. By this he condemned the world and became an heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. And then I asked like a few questions. I asked, what are you afraid of? What causes you to act because of overwhelming feelings of what could be if you were not to act? Fear can be a poison. Fear can cause us to make decisions that are irrational and dangerous. Many times I've seen it said that these people are just acting out of fear, or are they acting out of fear or faith? But what if fear and faith were working together? Noah was acting out of faith and fear. Hebrews describes it as holy fear. And this holy fear saved his family. And because of it, he became an heir of the righteousness that is keeping with faith. So it's not that fear itself is wrong, but rather what you fear can be wrong. So what do you fear? And it's kind of like how the difference between holy fear and like worldly fear is worldly fear will direct you towards sin because it'll direct you away from God.
Mm-hmm.
Holy fear will bring you closer in communion with God.
Yeah.
And in Noah's time, like these were the two kind of junctions where it's like the world did not fear God. Because they did not fear God, they were like brought so far from God that they no longer even had life.
Yeah.
Noah had fear of God, and because of that, through him came so much life, you know, and the security of life. It's like a passage like if you try to keep your life, you lose your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you give your life, you gain your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really is that trust element of, okay, God, I trust you. And I trust that no matter what you call me to, even if it's terrifying, I know it'll bring me closer to you.
Yeah.
And I think that being able to recognize that even if you're in a close relationship with God, that you can still be afraid,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes people believe that God will just eliminate fear. But that's not necessarily true.
No. It'd be hard to live with no fears at all.
Yeah, some fears are good.
Like what?
Well, like a fear of fire.
Well, yeah. Fear of
Huh,
fear of snakes. Don't get near snakes. Don't get near fire.
well, not all snakes are bad.
All snakes are bad.
No, that's not true. I feel like we're pretty far in the pool here.
Yeah.
What is something that you're afraid of?
Oh, I was gonna bring up another way that I help me conquer fear.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
And then we
I
can
guess
talk about our own fears if we want.
we're
to a
getting
little bit.
close to the deep end of the pool, but we're not
Yeah.
there yet. If this is your first time getting this close to the deep end of the pool, welcome. Make sure you have your floaties on before we can't touch the ground anymore.
Yeah. We cherish the deep end of
We
the
do
pool.
cherish
We
the deep
do.
end. We have
And
a
our
few very faithful.
divers.
Yeah, a few very faithful divers.
It's true.
All right, go ahead.
I was just gonna mention journaling, just because that was a huge part
I'm really glad you said that.
that helped me.
Yes.
Journaling in general is great, and a lot of people are like, I'm just not a journaler.
Yeah.
I've tried. I challenge you to try again.
Yeah.
Because that was me for a little bit. I'd just sit there with a blank page and be like, I don't know what to write down. And then I just kind of let my journal be my thought bunker. Like, just
Yeah.
write down.
Your thought bunker. I love that.
I just thought of that. Just write down whatever comes to your mind. Literally
Yeah.
anything. It can be prayers. It can be thoughts. It can be annoyances. It can be just kind of how your day went. I had a great day because this happened and this happened.
The end.
And then, and then once you do that, I think just the practice of journaling will just grow and develop you into a natural journaler, and it'll be
Yeah.
easy to journal. And literally just putting things on paper gets it out of your mind
100%.
and puts it somewhere.
Yep.
And it helps a lot.
And sometimes it helps you like verbally process
Mm-hmm.
things that you don't feel comfortable verbally processing with just anybody, you know?
Yeah.
Like you need that space.
Yeah.
You know what I think we should do?
What?
This is a big kind of moment right here. I think we should challenge everybody to like 30 days of journaling.
Whoa.
30 days.
Wow. That's a big challenge. That's great. Because when I said challenge, I was kind of just thinking, go for it once again, you know, but 30 days.
Yeah, like a 30-day challenge. And then we'll do 30 days.
Yeah.
Because this
Let's
is
do
good
it.
accountability, right?
It is great.
It is.
Yes.
It's really good. And so we'll do 30 days. And then once we get to our 30 days, we'll do a podcast on we journaled for 30 days. This is what we learned.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can be a part of that
Yeah.
podcast because you can tell us what did you learn in journaling for 30 days with
and
us.
if you make it, tell us
Yeah.
before the 30 days.
Oh,
So that we can
I don't know if they'd be able to do that
day 20 day.
because
yeah.
we're going to start 30 days now. So
Mm,
yeah, that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah, and it can be a big or small journal. It doesn't have to be
yeah.
a page. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be even a paragraph.
Yeah.
Just
These are our journals.
just start writing.
This is my journal here.
Show
It's oh yeah. If you're watching this via video, I believe that I have a Moleskine journal.
Fancy.
Black. Gloria has a R&B kind
Rico
of
Bello.
groovy kind of journal. Very
It's got
groovy.
a pretty leafy pattern on the front.
It's green.
It's got a ribbon in it.
Let us know what kind of journal you have.
Yeah.
We want to know what your journals are.
I always love getting a new journal.
Yeah, maybe there's an excuse to just go out to Barnes & Noble and just buy a good journal.
Barnes & Noble, Marshalls
Marshalls,
have
yeah.
cute ones.
Barnes & Noble has like quality journals though. You want to get a journal that has acid-free paper because then it will last forever.
I get mine on Amazon.
It probably has acid-free paper, but just like, make
I
sure.
didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, because otherwise it'll start to fade over time.
Oh, wow.
Then you can like show it to your kids and stuff,
Ooh.
Yeah, your kids should see your journal at some point.
Maybe okay. I think they should.
Even if you're like
Maybe.
dead. You're not dead right now. But like when you die, like after you're dead, they should see your journal.
Yeah. I've just never thought about my kids looking at my journal.
Oh, I do.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I think it's important because you don't know your parents until you're like old enough to start having memories.
We haven't even like showed each other our journals.
Yeah, I know. But one day we should.
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. Well,
Dun, dun, dun.
snakes is a fear.
Snakes is a pretty big fear. You can't even see a video of a snake. Is there a story behind that fear?
Out. I don't think so. I've tried to think of what
You
the
almost
root
had
of
like
that.
a Canadian accent just now. I don't think so. I don't even know how to do it. That was bad.
I don't either. I couldn't even try again.
Yeah.
Sorry, Canadians.
We know you're out there.
Yeah. We know you're listening. Yeah, I don't know what the root of that fear is. They just actually.
Oh my gosh.
I'm remembering.
Is this like therapy right now? Like we're bringing up like repressed memories?
No, I've thought about this before, so I was just remembering what I remembered.
Yeah.
The movie Holes.
No way.
The movie Holes
Shia
has
LaBeouf.
a snake in it.
Yeah.
And there's like some weird snake venom lady who holds snake venom in a vial or something. Or no, she keeps it as a weapon against people. So it bites
I don't
them.
remember this at all.
It was just weird. It was very weird, and I suddenly was so fearful of getting bit by a snake.
Have you seen the Indiana Jones movies?
I've seen like one of them.
Because they have snakes.
Of course
Because
they do.
Indy is very afraid of snakes.
Indy?
Yeah, Indiana Jones.
Did you just call him like you know him?
Yeah, like him and
Indy?
I were
Like he's
close.
your bro?
Yeah, we're brothers.
Oh, okay.
Related.
Oh.
Same dad.
Oh.
Probably.
What?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's really afraid of snakes. So there's snakes in the movie, but it's always like because he's afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, of course, there's a snake pit here.
Yeah.
There just happens to be a snake pit here. Maybe that'll be your life. Maybe like you'll just be walking.
Do not
Suddenly-
even speak that.
Suddenly a snake pit shows up in New Jersey.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, my friends who have pet snakes, I have a couple friends who have pet snakes.
Like Dakota.
Dakota, Danielle.
But we
Hortzma,
never even
shout
see
out.
Dakota's snake.
Well, I guess it's like hidden.
Yeah.
I think Danielle has a snake. But if they're in a cage, that's just fine.
Yeah.
I'm not even that freaked out if they would take it out and stand a couple feet away.
You just don't want to touch it.
I don't really want to get within its mouth reach.
I love the way snakes feel. Is that a hot take? I don't know. I don't think
I
it is.
mean, no, it's probably not a hot take because I bet a lot of people.
My mom used to tell me that
like
if
the
I were to
smoothness.
ever hit her, my hand would dry like a snake skin.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was such a lie, Mom. Wow. Why'd she lie to me like that?
I don't know.
I wouldn't have hit her anyways.
Exactly. So
I can't really think of my biggest fear. But I have a story about one time that I experienced real fear that I'd never experienced before.
Oh, go ahead.
I was in college. I never really had like fear of heights or anything like that. I still don't really have fear of heights. I've gone on like this big little ladder. It's like
Big Little Ladder.
yeah, that's like the name of the brand, I think. But it's like a massive ladder. It's absolutely huge. It's like so tall. And I've gone on like a roof to like fix things and stuff. I have like no issue with it. But there was this one time that I was sitting in this parking garage in Philly, right near that. I actually don't know. It's like near the place that has like skaters on it, like giant chess pieces and stuff.
Whoa.
If you know Philly, then you know. And I went to the edge of the parking garage and I just sat on the ledge. And I was just like chilling. I was vibing. I thought this would be really cool. It's like you see the whole city. There's nothing below you, all like, you know, just like buildings and stuff. And it was just me and my friend, Roosevelt. And it wasn't a girl, don't worry. And and he was like far away from me, just taking a photo. But then suddenly, sorry, allergies. Then suddenly, I felt like someone was running towards me.
Whoa.
And they were going to push me off the edge. I never felt this before. I look behind me, no one's there.
Yeah.
I feel it still. I feel like I'm actually falling. I look behind me, no one's there. And in that moment, I realized this is what the fear of heights feels like.
Yeah.
Like you are
Like you might
going
just
to fall. Like no matter what,
Oof.
no matter what you know is true, you will fall.
Oh,
Yeah. It was wild.
that is wild.
So if you're afraid of heights, let us know.
Yeah. I'm also afraid of the dark.
You are really afraid of the dark.
The dark.
You should
is-
tell that story about the time that you were running in your old college apartment in the dark.
What are you talking about?
You have amnesia from it.
I just cannot see in general.
Just period.
Without
you can't
my
see.
glasses, I
Yeah.
just cannot see. But especially in the dark.
Like she can't see, and again, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, like this close to her face without her glasses, this is how close it needs to be for her to see.
Yeah, it's very bad. And especially once I take those glasses off and I'm in the dark.
Even with your
Usually-
glasses on in the dark.
Yes, even with my glasses in the dark, usually people can see enough to get around.
Yeah.
I just cannot.
Yeah.
I have to feel around. It's not fun. But it was in my college apartment this last year. I was on the phone with Chris, actually.
We were FaceTiming, I think.
I think we were FaceTiming. I was just like washing my face,
Yeah.
about to go to bed. And I walk out of the bathroom into my dark apartment. And
You turned all the lights off.
I turned all the lights off outside the bathroom. So I turned the bathroom light off, not thinking like it's going to be pitch black the second I walk out the door. And so I thought I knew my way around this corner into my bedroom so that I could just sprint to bed because it's dark. And
She's like the kind of afraid where you turn off your basement lights and you run up the steps because you think
yeah,
something's
I'm out.
following behind you.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not in your basement. You're just in your apartment.
Yeah, but I was also alone.
Yeah.
My roommate was gone. So I basically don't make it around the corner that I think I'm going to make it around to get to my bedroom. And Chris, he probably, I don't even know.
It's
I
just
was
dark.
Just like, ah!
You're
And
like,
hit my-
oh, my head.
And I literally hit my head on the corner of this like cinder block wall and
full speed.
full speed. It was the most pain I've experienced in my head. And
I'm like 90% sure you got a concussion.
I literally went to the doctor after experiencing headaches for days and I couldn't like look at light. And she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you got like a minor concussion from
You're like,
that.
minor concussion? I ran full throttle into this brick wall.
I know. No, I'm pretty sure it was minor. Just because I had headaches for a week and I couldn't look at the light at all and I had to sit in the darkness, but it was only for a week.
It wasn't that bad. It was.
I know. So
That's pretty crazy.
yeah, that's what happens when you fear the dark that badly.
I know. It's wild.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
Listen, like, exactly the thing that you're afraid of in the dark is that something's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
What ends up happening because you were so afraid?
You hurt yourself.
You hurt yourself. Don't let fear control your life.
Mm.
Only the fear of the Lord.
Amen.
And learn to cast your anxieties onto Him.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for listening to our podcast, guys. We're super glad that you made it to this part of the deep end. If you haven't listened to our other episodes, make sure that you check them out. Also, don't forget to rate the podcast because that really helps other people be able to find them. And if you found this helpful and kind of, a building up of your faith, make sure you share it with people that you think could benefit from it too.
Yeah. And go on Instagram. Our username is the Carpio Corner.
Yeah.
Because we like to ask questions on there, like what kind of topics you guys want to listen to. If you like the podcast, what you got from it. And that's just a great resource, I think, if you want to share with us.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around to this deep end of the pool. Catch you guys in the next one.
See ya.